So welcome everyone, welcome to today's Learning Lab on the Joint Analytical Framework, or JAF, focusing today on the Livelihoods add-on module. So as we know, the JAF is a set of tools which is designed to be used jointly by WFP and UNHCR to better understand the needs and capacities of forcibly displaced people. And it's the capacities that we're going to be focusing on today with the Livelihoods add-on module. So we have colleagues from both agencies with us because these are processes that both WFP and UNHCR staff can work on together. So very warm welcome to everyone. This is the fifth in a series of 6 webinars. If you missed any of the previous webinars, you can watch the recordings. I've put the link in the chat. And please do sign up for the last webinar, which will be next week, on using JAF findings to inform joint programming. Let's have a first poll to get us started. Okay, I'm going to launch, excuse me, I'm going to launch this poll. It's to get an idea of who we have with us here today. So I'd like you to answer this question. What are your areas of work or expertise? And you can select more than one here. So program, livelihoods, socioeconomic inclusion, resilience, protection, social protection, qualitative data analysis, quantitative data analysis, interagency coordination, senior management, or some other area of expertise. So please fill this in. Submit your responses. I see responses coming in. I'll just give everyone another few seconds to fill in. Okay, we've got a really great mixture of different profiles, different backgrounds, areas of expertise. The top 3 that I'm seeing are quantitative data analysis, livelihoods, socioeconomic inclusion, resilience, and also program colleagues here. So I don't know if you can see, can you see those results as well? Yeah, great. Okay, so different profiles. We hope that today's webinar will be useful for all of these different profiles because the Livelihoods add-on module really brings together all these different elements. Next slide, please. So content and learning objectives. By the end of this learning lab, so over the next 45 minutes, you should be able to describe what the JAF Livelihoods add-on module is and understand its scope. Use the resources and tools which we're going to be presenting today. There's a questionnaire and an analysis plan. And you should be able to outline as well how to use the Livelihoods module in practice, in the contexts in which you work. Next. Thanks. So I'm the facilitator today from the Joint Hub, Olivia, Monitoring and Learning Officer, and we have a great group of presenters, Alessandra from WFP, who works on livelihoods and skills development, Claudia from UNHCR, livelihoods and economic inclusion, and Christian from the Joint Hub, who also works on livelihoods and economic inclusion. And with that, I will hand over to Alessandra to tell us more about the JAF and how the Livelihoods add-on module fits into the JAF as a whole. Over to you, Alessandra.
Thank you very much, Olivia, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. So before deep diving in the livelihood add-on module of the JAF, I would like to do a step back and give you a quick overview of the joint analytical framework, as the livelihood add-on module is included in the JAF. It has 2 main purposes: having a better understanding of the ability of forcibly displaced people to meet their basic needs, while at the same time capturing their capacity and technical skills. Next slide, please. How we use the JAF. We use it for joint strategic planning, joint assessment, and joint monitoring exercise run by the 2 agencies, so UNHCR and WFP, in country office where they are both present. Next, please. Now, as you can see from this graphic, this represents the joint analytical framework. It has 3 different layers of analysis: the national, community, and household one, as they are core determinants of the capacity of displaced population to cover or fulfill their basic needs. Now, in this slide, you can see there are different variables. For example, the safety and security, so the yellow one, they need to be assessed at all the 3 different levels I've just mentioned. But there are other variables that can be covered, for example, only at household or community level, according to the impact that they have on the capacity of displaced population to cover their basic needs. Now, as the general JAF only partially informs a specific intervention on livelihoods, and considering how livelihoods is important for displaced population capacity to cover their basic needs, in the previous months we thought there was the need of a specific assessment framework only focusing on livelihoods indicator. And this is basically why, together with the Hub and UNHCR, we have created this framework. Now, before going into the detail of the livelihood add-on module, I would like to give the floor back to Olivia for another poll question. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. So we'd like to hear your opinion, everyone here today. What could be the benefits of WFP and UNHCR collaborating on livelihoods programming? What, in your experience, could be the benefits? What, in theory, might be the benefits if you haven't had direct experience of this? And write 1, 2, or 3 words in here. It's a word cloud, so not too many words. Write just a couple of words. You can put more than one response in. So if you write a couple of words, send it. You can enter it. You can put another response in. So I'll give everyone a moment to think about the benefits of the 2 agencies collaborating on livelihoods programming. I'm seeing lots of interesting responses coming in. Duplication of assistance, reducing duplication of assistance, impact, resources. Yeah, we hope that it should be more cost efficient, better use of resources, better coordination, sharing of expertise, sustainability, accountability. Great. Okay, Alessandra, I hand back to you to tell us more about why we work together on livelihoods programming as 2 agencies and the benefits of this. Over.
Thank you very much, Olivia. Yeah, indeed, we asked this question exactly to understand why the 2 organizations with the Hub have developed this framework, and is exactly for all these reasons that you have mentioned to us. This is really the why this framework has been designed, to cover existing gaps when it comes to the assessment related to livelihoods programming. Now, after we have identified together the why, I would like to go to the what. So what is this livelihoods add-on module? First of all, is a thematic extension of the general JAF that I've just presented to assist exactly the 2 organizations in identifying livelihoods needs and opportunities when it comes to displaced population. In practical terms, what is this framework? It offers us a set of livelihoods specific indicators to support the country operation in formulating livelihood programs or initiatives within a shared analytical framework. It is important to notice that it was created by existing surveys, tools, and guidance by the 2 organizations, so UNHCR and WFP, but also complemented with external resources when it comes to indicators. Another important characteristic is that we don't consider this as an exhaustive framework, but actually it will need to be adapted to your local context of operation. Finally, before we go to the next slide, this framework is not compulsory. It can be used basically upon your country office request. Next slide. Thank you. So regarding the users, who are the users of this framework? This can be any livelihood or economic inclusion officers from WFP or UNHCR, but also any analyst that has been tasked with the design of a livelihood assessment, always with the support and in coordination with livelihood focal points. Regarding the when, this framework can be used in any country of operation where both organizations are present and are collaborating or wish to collaborate. At the same time, as Christian will clarify later on today, the two organizations can use it independently. Finally, when it comes to the where to use it, the framework has been designed to be used in rural, but also peri-urban or urban kind of settings, where the two organizations or one of them are present, and especially where clearly there is either a temporary or a protracted displacement occurring. With this being said, I will hand over the floor back to Olivia. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, thank you, Alessandra. So I've got another short poll for everyone. Just launching it now. What challenges might you face when trying to collect and analyze data related to livelihoods? What challenges might you face? So either based on your experience or challenges you imagine that you might face when trying to collect and analyze data. So you can select here all that apply, identifying what topics to focus on, finding existing secondary data reports that are relevant, formulating survey questions, ensuring data is collected in a standard way and comparable, agreeing with partners, other agencies on what to include. Questionnaires always get too long. In my experience, that's definitely an issue. Combining quantitative and qualitative data, analysing the data, or other challenges. So please select those challenges which you think you might face when trying to collect and analyse data related to livelihoods. Okay, I'll give everyone. I'm seeing the answers coming in. Okay, a real spread of answers here. Yeah, these are all challenges that we face really. But I'm seeing the two top challenges are ensuring data is collected in a standard way and comparable, and finding existing secondary data reports that are relevant. Those are the two top challenges coming up. And the next challenge, questionnaires always get too long. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to hand over now to Claudia to tell us more about the challenges and how the JAF Livelihoods add-on module helps to solve some of those issues. Over to you, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Olivia, and good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Now, thank you very much for your responses to the poll. It's very interesting to see the different challenges that you had encountered or anticipate to encounter while collecting and analyzing data related to livelihoods. Now, as you will see, the livelihoods module that we present to you today builds on existing resources and provides the necessary guidance and tools to avoid or minimize as much as possible those type of challenges that you have reported. Now, now that Alessandra has introduced you the JAF Livelihoods add-on module, allow me to show to you the add-on module's resources and tools that are available for you to use. Now, first question is, where can we find them? Where can we find those resources? Well, we can find them on the JAF website that you find here at the bottom of the page. And once you open the page, you will see that you have the section JAF Toolkit. And under JAF Toolkit, you have the Livelihoods add-on module. And this is where you have all the resources for the add-on module. Now, which tools and resources does the JAF Livelihoods add-on module have? As you can see here, we have three main resources. The first one under number 1 here is the Livelihoods add-on module description, which is basically a document describing the module, when it should be used, its level of analysis and indicators, and relationship with the bigger JAF. Then under number 2, you have what we call the Livelihoods add-on module questionnaire, which is basically the questionnaire to be used for any primary data collection that you'll have to conduct in the Livelihoods module. And what this means is basically that the data that you need is not available. So meaning you don't have any secondary data available for that specific variable indicator that you wish to inform, and that you will have to collect it. So this questionnaire will support you with all the questions that you have to apply to collect that data. The questionnaire contains questions for all 3 levels of analysis of the JAF that Alessandra has already presented to you, which is a national, community, and household level. And in the same section here of the add-on module, you have under number 3, the Livelihoods add-on module analysis plan, which is a key document and is to be considered as your roadmap for how you can obtain, organize, and analyze the necessary data in the Livelihoods module. Now, the analysis plan contains all the necessary guidance per level of analysis, including the indicators, method of data collection, and analysis step. And it is important to note that the Livelihoods module has been developed taking into consideration existing data collection exercises mapped out by UNHCR and WFP, such as, for instance, RMS, the Findex World Bank Survey, or the UNHCR Global Survey on Livelihoods and Economic Inclusion, or even the bigger JAF itself, as it can be used very easily with the JAF itself. Okay, now that we see those 3 resources that we have available, we might wonder, how do we use them together? First, okay, I'm waiting for the numbers to come. First, you should start with the analysis plan. As we said, it is a key document. It's your roadmap throughout the process of the data collection and analysis. So you should start with it, together with the Livelihoods add-on module description that can support you in using the analysis plan as well, as you see reflected here in numbers 1. And then once you have determined which data is already available and which data you need to collect, you can collect your data, which we call primary data, using the Livelihoods module questionnaire that you have here under number 2. Now, let's have a closer look. As we said, the analysis plan is the key tool, the key document you should start from. Let's have a look at it, as it contains quite a lot of information, and is so let's look into its structure and then its what it contains. So first of all, as you can see here, the analysis plan. So here you have a screenshot of the analysis plan, and you can see here different tabs. So basically it contains 5 main tabs. The first one, called description, well, it provides similar information as in the module guidance that we saw in the previous slide on the number 1. Then you have a second tab called list of livelihoods indicators, which basically contains the list of all the livelihoods add-on module topics and indicators for the 3 levels of analysis. Then you have 3 additional tabs called national level, community level, and household level, which basically, so for the national level, it contains the indicators and their plan analysis for the national level. And the data here is mostly collected through key informal interviews and desk review. Then you have the community level, which contains the same, but for the community level. And here the data is mostly collected through key informal interviews, focus group discussions, and desk review for the secondary data. And then lastly, you have the household level tab, which contains the same, but for the household level. And the data is mostly collected through household surveys and desk review for secondary data. Now here on this page, you have an example of the, well, you have all the information that is containing the list of livelihoods indicators tab. And we wanted to expand a little bit on this part to tell you about the topics that it contains. So the topics that basically the livelihoods add-on module covers. Okay, and very briefly, we're not going to go through all of them in details, but as you can see here, we have the 3 levels that are reflected, the national level, community level, and household level. And for them, what you have in bold here are the topics, and then you have the variables and indicators that are covered under that topic. So for instance, the national level, we look at the legal framework, whether it's access to land, access to work, and so on. You can see them all here. Then we look into availability of partners, and here it's mostly presence of development, governmental, or private partners. Then at the community level, we look into availability of services, and by services, it can be financial services, technical skills, employment, private investors, and social protection, for instance, to cite a few examples. Then we look into economic characteristics and external influencing factors. And under household level, we look into food production, asset ownership and productivity, access to services at the household level, and economic plans and challenges and fears. So here you have a quick description of all the topics that are covered in the livelihoods add-on module. Now let's look a little bit more in details in the analysis plan itself. Now here you have the 3 tabs that we mentioned before, the national level, community level, and household level. And what is important to know is that, well, those 3 tabs follow the same structure. the three of them together, but it also had the same structure as the JAF, which ensures that it can easily nest into and be used with the bigger JAF, so that you can, so you can use them very, very easily together. Then let's have a look a little bit more at the structure. So again, this structure applies to all three levels, national, community, and household level, and the JAF itself. Now, each column indicates an information. So for instance, the first one is the topic, which basically provides the topic of analysis. As we mentioned before, we saw the list of different topics that is covered by the Livelihoods add-on module. In the second column, you have the variables, which basically provides the variable of analysis. Then you have the method of data collection, which specifies whether it is a primary data collection, meaning to be collected through the JAF add-on module, or secondary data, which is already available and not necessary to collect again. Then the fourth column is the requirement level, which basically specifies whether the indicator is essential or optional. Followed by analysis indicator, which provides the indicator of analysis. And here we can have several indicators per variable. So the variables in column B. And here we're looking at column E. And as you can see, we can have several indicators for one variable. And then we have analysis step, which basically tells you how the data will be collected or gathered. And here we could have key informal interviews, focus group discussions, household surveys, or desk review for secondary data. Then you have the column called primary guiding questions. And here basically it provides the questions to be used to collect the data for those indicators where you don't have any secondary data and you want to collect it as a primary data collection. And if there's no data to be collected here, you'll just have none that is specified. As you can see here in the column, we have a few examples. Then the last two columns are about the secondary data. And basically, the source of secondary data will tell you the source. So where you can actually find that secondary data, if it's available. If you have none, it means you don't have any secondary data available that we found of so far. And then the last column, secondary data guiding questions, provides you the questions, if they were available and we had access to them, that were used to collect the data, the secondary data that you'll be using as part of your analysis. Now here it's important to note that you can easily combine secondary and primary data in your analysis. You do not necessarily have to use them separately. So maybe for one specific variables, you might have several indicators. And for some indicators, you may already have some data available, so secondary data. However, there's still some additional ones where you didn't find any secondary data. So for that one, you might want to collect your data directly through a primary data collection. So you can actually combine the two of them to have the bigger picture for your variable. Okay, and now I'm moving to the last slide, where so through it's three levels of analysis, as we saw before, national, community, and household level. The Livelihoods module provides an integrated and in-depth analysis, which means that for the same topic, it provides an analysis of the policy environment, for instance, which can be measured at the macro or national level, the availability or presence of the service or topic, and usually that's at the community level, and its accessibility to the population, which is usually measured at the household level. So let's have a look here through an example as how this is structured with an example of financial services. So let's start with the national level. Now, at the national level, as you can see here, the module assesses the enabling environment for financial services in the country and looks more specifically at the legal access, as you can see here, to open an account at the financial institution. So this data is mainly obtained through desk review and from secondary sources, such as the UNHCR Global Survey on Livelihoods and Economic Inclusion, or even the JAF itself, as you can see it mentioned in those columns here. Now, if you have a look at the community level for the same service, here we will assess the presence and availability of financial services for the community, whether they're formal or informal. And as you can see here, this is to obtain through primary data collection and mainly through key informal interviews, as is specified in the columns here. Now, when you look at the household level, we assess the access of households to those financial services through several indicators, such as the number of transactions made by households. As you can see here, you have the two first indicators related to that, or the walking distance to the financial institution. And this is obtained through a mix of primary data collection through household surveys and desk review for secondary data, as you can see here in this column analysis step. So as you can see from this example, the add-on module allows you to capture and analyze different types of scenarios where you could have a national environment for a specific service that is very favorable. However, the availability and access to that specific service is limited, or vice versa, you could have an enabling environment that is quite restrictive, where you don't have a lot of rights. However, access is still ensured through available informal services. So with this, I thank you very much, and I will now give the floor to Christian that will further expand on how to roll out the JAF add-on module. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. A lot of information, so I think people need to digest all this. So now we are going to focus on how to, indeed, when concretely this Livelihoods add-on module can be used. And in order to elaborate on this specific topic, I would like to stress one important information: the fact that the framework is a very new framework that has been created jointly by UNHCR and WFP, and the framework has never been tested. So therefore, what we plan to do, also what we have in the next as the next steps, is to indeed identify countries where to pilot the module, because as of now we don't have evidence of the use of it, if it fits easily and well with the diversity of the different contexts, if the country offices and the teams, field teams, can easily understand and apply the module. So we miss this kind of evidence. So thinking of the rollout of the module immediately brings us to imagine scenarios that are at the moment just theoretical. But what we want to stress is the fact that as it is structured, the module itself is a very flexible and adaptable module that indeed allow to easily internalize specificities, characteristics that are present in different contexts. We might have situations in which we want to investigate, for instance, livelihoods, the livelihood sector in urban settings, and therefore the module allow to indeed deeply assess the urban related livelihoods activities, whereas in other cases we might have an interest to better investigate the rural livelihoods activities, and also in this case the livelihoods add-on module can already offer a lot of indicators and primary and secondary questions, but again it allows to include new and to expand with new questions, new tools that can be integrated into the module itself. So the module is indeed a framework. We want to highlight this. The frameworks then allows to develop assessment tools. So the JAF in itself is a strategic framework that allow to further think of assessment tools. So when we imagine these scenarios, we thought of different situations in which indeed WFP and UNHCR have different level of collaborations. They have different capacities at country level. They have different tools, livelihoods tools already available. And so we try to imagine different scenarios according to these elements. And what the different scenarios have in common is, indeed, we have two elements. One is the fact that in any case, we need to be very committed to have also resources, capacities, to have a budget to dedicate to the design and implementation of such a very deep assessment on livelihoods. So this is an element. The other element common to any scenario is the fact that in any case, the JAF is a strategic framework that guides strategic reflections that need to happen at country level. So having said that, let's have an idea of the potential scenario. We thought of mainly three scenarios. The first scenario is a scenario in which, indeed, in a given country, there are no joint livelihoods assessment tools already developed, but the two country offices, so UNHCR and WFP, they use normally their own livelihoods tools, but they have an interest in developing together a joint assessment tool. In this case, so the JAF, again, is a strategic framework that guides the two agencies to critically think of how to better use their own respective tools and how to integrate them in which, around which common indicators, around which common primary and secondary questions, in order to investigate better the livelihood sector in that context. So having already a structured model can help this kind of reflection. The second scenario is a scenario in which, on the opposite, the joint assessment tool is already available. So the two agencies have already developed this, but for any reason they want to expand or to develop further the tool, the joint tool itself, because perhaps there have been changes into the sector, because there is the case law has changed, so the needs have changed, so there is a need to better capture those evolving needs at field level. So in this case, again, the JAF allow to guide this strategic reflection and to indeed understand for which purpose you want to, the two agencies wants to update to get what from a new and updated joint assessment tool. The third scenario is a scenario in which, indeed, only one agency wants to use the livelihoods add-on module. This is something that might happen because of, again, many reasons. One of the reasons could be simply because there is one agency more interested in, investing and understanding better the livelihood sector. In this case, of course, the JAF provides an interesting and very comprehensive framework with information and resources coming from two agencies that at the end will be used just by one agency, and this is something that's absolutely also doable. So those are the three scenarios. Of course, there might be other scenarios, but we wanted to focus on this. And with Olivia, I hand over to Olivia because we want to understand from you guys if these scenarios indeed suit you well. But please, Olivia, over to you to launch the poll. Thanks.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, we wanted to ask everyone here today which scenario they think they fit in to of these three scenarios that we have. So I've got a poll for you. So thinking about the country context in which you're working now, or the context in which you've worked most recently and you're most familiar with, which scenario best fits your context? So is it scenario 1, no existing WFP UNHCR joint assessment tools for livelihoods? Scenario 2, some existing joint tools, but agencies want to update them. Scenario 3, agencies not working together on livelihoods, but working independently. And so the JAF livelihoods add-on module could be useful for one agency or the other. Or is it none of the above? Respect to the context where you're working now, or you worked most recently, the context that you know best. And I'm seeing the results coming in. Okay, I'll just give everyone a moment to think about this. Okay, seems to have stabilized. Seems that most people, of the people who've responded here today, oh, it's changing as I speak. So either no existing joint assessment tools for livelihoods, so the JAF could be useful because it's a very comprehensive tool for both agencies, or the agencies are not working together on livelihoods, working independently. Actually, that's the top response. And then for about a third, some existing joint tools, agencies want to update them, and about 10% say none of the above. Interesting. Back to you, Christian.
Thanks, Olivia, and thanks, colleagues, for having answered. Indeed, the answer, it doesn't surprise that much, because indeed if we thought of this joint resource, which is the add-on module, is indeed because we also from the experience of the joint hub, or in general having relationships with different country teams, we know that indeed it's quite hard to have very well structured joint resources already developed, right? Joint assessment tools. So indeed, the scenario 1 and 2, indeed, yeah, and 3, sorry, are the scenarios, the most common ones. Thank you so much for this. And then a last slide from my side is indeed, as I said before, a lot of information, so we need to digest a lot. So I think as a joint hub, we can play a role, supporting country offices in, rolling out, understanding and rolling out and implementing the add-on model. And so as a joint hub, we can surely support country offices in, going deeply through the details and the details of the add-on module. Claudia and Alessandra presented generally, I mean, the structure, but there are a lot of peculiarities to be understood. So eventually, if there is an interest, the Joint Hub can support through remote work or through trainings, on really navigating the different tools that have been presented. But also, we could also provide some support in understanding the situation, the start situation, so the available tools at country level, and so understanding how to integrate them, find common principles, common indicators, common areas to update and to integrate those tools. And then, of course, once the module is applied, of course, there are a lot of data there. And usually as Joint Hub, we also provide some support in understanding, analyzing the data, and all this with a link to the programs, programming adjustments, program design. So always trying to make sure any data will inform properly any future joint program. So we wanted to stress also this as kind of call to action also for you guys to reach out to us eventually if there is an interest in investigating further the livelihood sector in your country, in your operations. I think I can stop here. So I hand over to Olivia. Thanks a lot for your attention. Olivia, over to you.
Thank you, Christian. And we're going to share our email contact. So as Christian said, please do reach out to any of us here on the webinar today if you would like more information about testing out, rolling out the JAF Livelihoods add-on module in the context where you're working. So I haven't seen any questions coming in the chat, but if you do have questions about what's been presented, please type them into the chat because we will have time to we'll have time to answer them. We've got a few more minutes left. And I just wanted to highlight, Claudia, can you go back to, great, the slide that has an overview of all of the learning labs. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is the 5th Learning Lab webinar on the JAF. You can see here all the topics of all the other webinars that we've had. The recordings are all available. I put the link for the YouTube channel in the chat, so available to watch. And we have our last Learning Lab next week, next Wednesday at the same time, on using JAF findings to inform joint programming. So do sign up for that, and I'll put the link for that in the chat too. I'm not seeing any questions. So much information, no questions. Claudia, can you stop sharing the presentation, please? And other presenters, if you'd like to put your cameras back on. We don't have any questions to us, but is there anything that we feel we've missed that we would like to highlight as we close? Any questions we have for each other? Anything else we'd like to say, closing remarks? Otherwise, we can finish just a bit before time? No. Okay.
They may need
Well-
some extra minutes to rest after all the information we provided. Maybe it's very welcome.
Yeah, it was a detailed presentation of how you can use the JAF and an overview of the tools that are there, the JAF Livelihoods add-on module. All right, well, thank you everyone for being here today. We've had over 100 people online, so that's really great. And yeah, thank you everyone. Have a good afternoon, and hope to see you next week for the last JAF webinar. All right, bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lydia.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.